It's cold this morning. It's 35 degrees, which may not sound that cold, but I'm a big baby, so I'm bundling up. Let's get your sweater on. You ready to go up to the garden? How about you? Let's go. Are you warm? Even though we're covering these every night, I still have some frost damage, and I'm noticing that some of my plants that should be frost tolerant are suffering. That just goes to show how cold it got last night. Definitely down in the 20s, which is a little chilly for here. But I want to do everything I can to help my plants make it through the cold. Good morning, lettuce. Oh, got a little damaged. Stand up straight, chicken. So let's check the compost. Yeah, it's definitely in the active zone. Barely at 100 degrees, which is good. That means it's active. Good morning, friends. It's winter. All through December. If you look back at my December videos, I was wearing tank tops and talking about how beautiful it was in my 75-degree weather. In the beginning of last week, we finally hit the low 30s at night. So I guess you can say winter is officially here. So that meant covering plants. Not everybody does it, and I understand why, because it can be a pain to cover at night, uncover in the day. But I want to give my plants that I've been babying for several months now every chance to make it through the winter, because I want to enjoy as many of them as possible in our short spring. So I'm going through the effort to do that. Besides that, there's not a lot going on in the garden. I planted my spring seeds last week. If you want to check out that video, they're doing really great. I'll take you in and show you their progress in a minute. Well, hello. Are you warm and cozy? But besides a few peppers and an orange tree ready to be harvested, there's really not a lot coming out of the garden right now. I am saving and pressing some flowers that I have growing. I've also done a lot of pruning. All my rose bushes, I think I have 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 13 rose bushes. They are all pruned and ready to be fertilized probably next month to prepare for the spring. I also did a big prune on my grapes. This is the time of year to do that. So I'm no expert, as I regularly state, on grapes. And we haven't had the best luck, to be honest, with grape production. We are on year 5. The spring will be the 5th spring we've had them, when we got them as just bare roots. Last summer it was so hot that they didn't produce anything, no matter how much I watered and fertilized. It was too hot. They didn't produce anything. So this year I'm hoping that we get at least a cluster or two. We have a Thompson grape and a lollipop, I believe. In the past, I've done research on how to properly prune grapevines, and this year I kind of just went with what seemed right and felt right. So we'll see. And I got a ton of leaves, which was nice for my composting. Speaking of compost, that's probably been my biggest focus this last couple of weeks. I'm at the point now where it's time to stop my current pile and start a new one because it's almost to the top of one of my 3 bins. So I've added a lot of leaves, which is nice because you don't think there's a lot of leaves in the desert until you gather up your mesquite, little tiny little leaves. I got several buckets of those this year just from around our house. I got a bunch of grape leaves, pomegranate leaves. We have a bunch of other deciduous trees that have dropped their leaves, which has been great. And I added those. I had some shredded paper I added. I had some trimmings from the garden. So I turned my compost pile twice. The way I do it with my 3-bin system is one bin is always empty or holding extra stuff that I'm waiting to add. One bin is either finished or nearly finished, and one bin is working. So right now I only have one working bin. And in the winter, it's always surprising to me how the weather and the cold does not affect the process. In fact, my compost is more active in the winter, and I suspect that because it's so dry here in the summer that it doesn't have enough moisture to really be as active. It's been really active. I've flipped it twice and I can definitely see decomposition working, and my pile is going to be nice and ready for the spring. I'm flipping it from one bin to another about once a week now, and just making sure I'm adding enough water, aerating it, adding green material to keep it active, and it's coming along really nicely. So besides kind of trying to keep things alive and start new things in preparation for spring, things are going pretty well here in the garden. So I wanted to share the progress of my seedlings from just last week. I don't think I've ever had this good of a germination rate and speed. Everything has sprouted except for my cumin. This is the 3rd or 4th time I've tried to grow cumin, and I don't know if I just got a bad batch or if I just don't know what I'm doing in starting cumin, but I've just had no luck. I don't know. It's crazy. At this rate, I'm going to be up potting pretty soon. My starter mix was just my own homemade concoction of peat moss, vermiculite, and my own worm castings, and I think that was kind of a golden ticket. I know there's a lot of controversy and debate with peat moss and whether it's sustainable, but the research I've been doing is saying that it's absolutely sustainable, and the cocoa coir option isn't much better anyway. So that's what I have. That's what I'm going for. If you have strong feelings either way, feel free to add your opinion respectfully in the comments. I've been pretty much just coming in and bottom watering to about 3/4 of a cell full of water every day. Took the domes off earlier this week because I don't think they need the humidity anymore. The only thing I haven't started is my tomato seeds. I need to go pick them up. They're in at my library. I just need to go pick them up and get them started. Definitely something I gotta do in the next day or two. That is the state of our spring seedlings. Let's go take a look around the garden. We've got a bunch of poppies coming up. My yarrow is doing well. Everything's a little bit smushed and matted down from being covered up. Cauliflower seems to be faring okay in the cold. The mint is definitely asleep. My sweet peas seem to be doing all right. I'm not covering my potatoes, and they're definitely getting a little frost damage, but that's okay. They're growing underneath and they're fine. My dill is flowering and lovely. And more poppies. I've already had poppies blooming because of the temperatures. Garlic is doing great. And my cauliflower is pretty small in here, and I'm starting to wonder if I've mislabeled these, which I would not put it past myself to do. They're just Not looking like cauliflower, so we'll see. Borage is coming in really nicely. I have to read again how to harvest this. This may be too big at this point to use, but it's apparently a really great herb. Here again are my pesky weeds that I'm just pulling and pulling and pulling. And my bee balm is looking a little frost damage, but I know that's going to come back like crazy in the spring. My serrano peppers, they're doing actually really well, and I should probably harvest what I can on here because I'm seeing some frost damage. Our house doesn't like super hot things, and serranos are about as hot as we can take. They have a nice flavor. I may have to prune this back to soil level. I'm pretty surprised that my pole beans are still going. I'm just going to leave them on here till they're pretty dried and brown. Queen Anne's lace is looking a little unhappy. I'll keep covering it up, but my foxgloves are looking great. Some scabiosa, and it looks like it's not loving this cold. This is one of the rose bushes I didn't prune because they're just so pretty right now. Well, my peas are doing okay. I wish they were a little further along. That's the one thing with a fall or winter garden, that growth is a lot slower than in the spring and summer. I always want to have further progress than I usually do, but I have to be patient. Okay, come on, get up there. There you go. This guy's starting to climb. Then we have our gaillardia doing okay. And my broccoli's doing pretty well. My violas always do really well in the cold. They don't mind it. My carrots were a little slow to get started this year, but they're starting to take off. And more peppers. Got my mini bell peppers, definitely getting frost damaged. We're gonna harvest some of these. So here's what I'm curious about. I think this is a volunteer tomato plant. There's two of them in this little planter that I started, and I don't know what they're from. And this is catnip. I might need to cover this because I don't mind volunteer tomatoes. So interesting. And this potato plant is not happy with the cold either. Oh my. And look at that. Looks like I need to add some more soil to my potato beds. Here are my pansies and other flowers. I like to press these because they just turn out so lovely. And my cosmos, might need to cut him back. And then I planted some flax a few weeks ago, and they're doing okay. Got a couple shoots here. And my calendula is looking lovely. I might have to cut this guy and press him before he starts to fade. And then dahlias, they are sleeping, and I just bought some new bulbs that I could not pass up at the Home Depot this weekend. They had some really pretty varieties that I'm going to be adding to this area this year. And then finally my rectangle bed. My asparagus are still green. They're starting to turn a little brown, where I can cut them back and they can get ready for spring. My celery is doing okay. And my one kale plant, getting a little weathered, but he's hanging in there. Another little struggling kale. Not a lot going on in this bed. A few flowers. There's 3 different roses here that I spent a lot of time this weekend pruning. But look at this branch, or cane, or whatever these are called. It's just massive. So I'm gonna have some good amount of roses this year, I think. Then my next task this week is to start harvesting these lemons. I still have some blooms on here, although the leaf next to it is frost damage. Crazy. We'll take this guy and see how he's doing. Ow! I'm doing this by hand, but oh yeah, it's gonna be nice. And then here's our navel orange tree that is super ready to be harvested. These are not the easiest to peel. And when I first tried one a couple weeks ago, I thought, oh no, they're not ripe. They're gonna be so sour. But they are as sweet as can be. They are definitely ready to harvest. And maybe it's just the variety, or maybe if I let them ripen a little bit inside, they'll be a little easier to peel. But I don't really care how hard they are to peel if they taste delicious. They're very sweet and very orangey. Well, thanks for hanging out with me today. It's already warmed up quite a bit, and I don't need this hat on my head anymore. But as much as I love my garden in the early springtime, I really do love this time of year. Different things are growing, and different challenges are always presenting themselves. So until next time, have a great day.